What's up, mortgage coach community? I am sitting down with James Beaver out of Houston, Texas. What's up, James?
How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's been quite a while since, well, I guess we were on a call together with your team recently, but
Yep.
first time I've interviewed you for the channel in a long time.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. It's great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you're doing. So for anyone who wants to know a little bit more about James, he is in Houston, Texas, personally closes over 100 loans a year, runs a branch that does over 800 units last year. It will be interesting to see how this year pans out. What are your thoughts on how you personally will end the year with families served in your branch?
So I think we're definitely having a challenging year. I think like most people are. I think we'll probably end up in the 600 families helped, probably right around 100 again for myself personally again. And man, we just keep trying to push forward, and this business always keeps you on your toes, right? So we got a new opportunity this year to learn and grow and adapt, and we're trying to embrace that. So,
well, something that I found really interesting, and I want to hear more about it, is that you had mentioned that a good part of your production last year, your branch production, came from new loan officers that you had brought in fresh to the industry. And then, when I talked to you, hey, are you still bringing new loan officers in this high interest rate market? You're like, heck yeah. So I want to, if you could tell the story of, I can't remember what the stat was, but how did your new loan officers produce last year? And what is your strategy this year with new LOs?
Yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. Actually, at the end of 2019, I just kind of decided that I was getting a kick out of finding new people and trying to show them the ropes and get them into the business. And so we started doing that. And my approach was to hire usually 3 to 5 people at a time. And they just come out of the woodwork, Dave. It's really weird. When we start thinking about, let's bring in a new class, they just come to us. And so I started bringing folks in at the very end of 2019, which we were excited about it. And then of course, we get a couple months into 2020 and COVID hits, and you're like, holy cow, how do we get new guys out there finding new business? We got through it and decided to keep going with it. And so by 2021, it was 25% of our production came from people who were in their first or second year in the business. So these are guys that didn't have any past clients, right? So they weren't refinancing. This was all like purchase business, them just finding deals. So it's fun to see guys that are like just brand spanking new, really a few of them just crushing it. And so we've continued on with that this year, despite the environment we're in this year. Heck, we're like, if we can grow in COVID with new people, then hey, what's the big deal about rising rates? So we've gone out and hired a couple more classes of LOs this year, and we're developing those guys, and they're getting out there, and they don't know any different, right? They're just like, well, this is the world they know in the mortgage business. So they're not too intimidated by it. They're just hammering it. It's a lot of fun to see. Yeah.
Well, and relatively, it's still just such an incredible opportunity for anyone. I mean, the income opportunity in the mortgage industry is amazing. Yeah. And when someone comes in fresh, they don't have any bad habits. They don't have any good habits, but it is your chance to, install new great habits and the expectations. When you compare the income opportunity in the mortgage industry versus just about any industry I know of, it's incredible. So
it's fantastic.
Makes lots of sense to me. I would love to know anybody in the mortgage coach community that you're either you're on par, like you're still bringing in new loan officers like you did in previous years, or if you've doubled down, like this is an even better market to do it. I do want to hear from you. We do need a lot of new blood in the mortgage business. I do think, at least from all the interviews I've done and what I'm hearing, it's a great opportunity. It's a great strategy. And with the technology that we have, the CRMs, the mortgage coach, the home bot, the sales boomerangs, with the tech stack that a loan officer has, it's never been easier for a new loan officer to get after it. So let's for the next part of this call, let's unpack your new loan officer strategy.
Yep.
And then let's do a mortgage strategy. I would love to hear how you're using mortgage coach, how you're training mortgage coach. So why don't you just give us an overview? And let's do it in this structure, by the way, because I did a a playbook on where is that? I had it all pulled up on my screen, ready to show it. Here it is. I did a new loan officer playbook. It's on I'm going to get it into the Mortgage Coach blog, but right now it is in LinkedIn. It's one of my articles in LinkedIn, but I kind of did it in a chapter of what do you do for the first 90 days? And what do you have them do? And then what do you do after that? How do they learn the basics? We talked about when they start using Mortgage Coach. Most of the people that I'm talking to is making them start doing it within I think it's right after the 30 to 60 day period. But why don't you tell us what you're doing? What's the first 90 days look like, and when do you start teaching Mortgage Coach to them?
That's great. Yeah, so we bring them in. Our company does some kind of training on just our systems corporately for the first week really that they're here, and then we spend between usually a week or two where they're shadowing people in our branch in different roles, and that could be they're sitting with a processor, or they're sitting with a loan officer assistant, or they're sitting with some loan officers, listening to them make calls. We have them sit in on consultations that we do with our clients, contract calls, all the things that we do kind of through our process. We want them shadowing, watching, listening. I tell them straight up, the people who succeed in this program are the people who take great notes, listen after hours, they're practicing, they're reviewing everything they've learned. I really emphasize, like, you've got to be a student. After a couple of weeks of shadowing, this is my favorite part of the program. We put them through what I call boot camp, and it's usually 4 or 5 days, and I've got them, and we're in the classroom, and we're role playing. We're working on building lists and beginning to figure out what their goals are going to be. Really have them kind of dream big, and then talk about what are the fundamentals day in and day out, week in, week out, that they're going to have to do to get to their goals. I love that. It's a fun time to kind of get to know them better, establish some community within that class. They get to know each other better. And I think, that's who we are. Is a lot of these guys, I mean, we're people, right? And so for them to get to know each other better and kind of feel like they have a bond, they push each other, they hold each other accountable. That's really cool to see. So boot camp is a blast for me. And we also build in, some outings so they can get to know other people in the branch. We really want to bring them into our culture. So that week is a lot of fun. And then during that week, we start exposing them to Mortgage Coach. We really want them to get visibility, not only on, they've already seen us present it to clients because they've been sitting in consultations and things like that. But in addition to that, we want them to see how easy it is to build a TCA, to get into just the mechanics of putting it together. So we start that during boot camp. That's in the first 30 days. And our expectation is that they're using it like the minute they get out of boot camp. The first time they have an opportunity to put numbers together for someone, they're going to Mortgage Coach for that process.
So let me get into some specifics in our playbook, because I just want to hear how you do it.
Yep.
So I'm going to show our playbook. So one thing is how many people they start their list with. I know when I interviewed, I think it was Dave Gallegos, he said before people can come on board, they need to come in with 100 people that they know, trust, and like. Mm-hmm. And then their job over the first 60 days is to build that up to 300. Now, that's a lot. I think that's the highest I've heard. So I'm curious on that.
Yep.
So if you could answer that real quick, do you have any requirements around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we push them to get to a list of 200 people they know. Okay. And then we use MMI to begin to target realtors.
Love that.
I want them to go ahead and start building a list of realtors. And so we focus on the mapping functionality with that a lot. So you can say, hey, what part of Houston do you live in and want to do business in? Let's go find people in that area. That's your community. So let's go find people in that area. So we want to build a list of 100 realtors that they can start calling on, 200 people they know. And then another thing that kind of fits in that same vein is I feel like a lot of my business over the years has not come from, I mean, certainly it's come from building relationships with regular referral partners and whatnot, but a lot of it's just come through me being engaged in the community, right? And so I have my guys also spend time. I want them to identify 5 organizations, charities, groups that they think they would like to participate in, that they're interested in already, and just begin to target key people in an organization they might want to be a part of, and just become more intentional in their day-to-day life about getting to know people and develop relationships.
So I love that. I don't recall, I know we don't have a requirement of community groups to get involved with, but I'm going to add that to this playbook. So thank you, James. You're going to contribute to the Mortgage Coach playbook there. And then I know we have the 300 total contacts, but we didn't reference MMI, and we didn't reference a specific list of realtors. So I'm going to add that to the playbook. Thank you, brother. Yep. Also, something that I've heard a lot from managers is that they'll have them watch the Dan Rawich morning update in our Rate Watch, and that they'll have them watch at least one Mortgage Coach video a week. And then we built a new loan officer playlist, and I've had managers that have said, hey, we don't necessarily make every person watch every video, but they're bringing a class through, and part of the training is, I'm watching that daily update, so I'm getting smart on economy and markets. And then I'm also watching a Mortgage Coach video, and I'm writing up, 1-page report, and it's part of the, the collaboration. I know you're pretty active in the community, but do you have a strategy around the content we create and how you integrate that? You use that for training.
Man, I love that. I love that you brought that up. I do actually require them to watch Mortgage Coach videos on YouTube. That's part of the training program. We really kick that off in boot camp, as well as some other coaching stuff that I've got access to. I want them listening to some of the best in the business and getting ideas and getting excited about the potential that they have in this industry and with a new career. So I love that. And then, absolutely, getting into the markets and understanding what's going on with mortgage-backed securities and what's going on in the economy and what's the Fed doing and why does that matter? Those are all things we want to educate them on, and we really begin that process during the boot camp, and then encourage them to do that on an ongoing basis. And really, for me, the message that I've tried to push out to these guys is that in my career, when I felt like there was a real pivot for me, was when I started educating myself more, and then I can educate customers and I can educate our referral partners, and the conversations we have take on a completely different tone when you're providing information. It's not a salesy kind of feel to it. It's like, hey, I want to help you out, and it's a consultative approach. And so I think education is critical in this amazing line of work that we're in. So
love it. So another question. So one thing I loved about, and I think this came from the Dave Gallegos interview, but he wants the loan officers to advance a belt. He tries to get them to advance their belt once a month. So he thinks, hey, everybody can become an orange belt in their first month, and then let's every month. But he really pushes it within 6 weeks. Now, the way he does it, and tell me what you think about this script, is he says, go to all your renters, so all the people that are renting, that they know you, like you, and trust you, and say, hey, I need your help. I'm a new loan officer and I need to practice my rent versus own analysis. Do you mind if I practice on you? I just need to ask you a few quick questions. And so he's like, what new loan officer can't call up 20 people that they know, like, trust, that are renting a home, and practice a rent versus own? And then he's like, the other script he uses is, hey, I want you to call up all your homeowner friends and family members. Say, hey, I need your help. I need to practice a move-up analysis on you. Do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions? And so, his goal is, first of all, they're going into friendly fire. So it's people that like them, know them, and trust them, and they're practicing strategic conversations. Yeah. They're doing a TCA. So one, do you like that?
I love it. Yeah.
Are you doing anything like that?
No, but I am now. That's fantastic.
So good. I like it. I like it when we learn from you and get ideas, and whoever I'm interviewing comes away with something. So I'll look forward to hearing how that goes.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. I love it.
Do you have any, another real key piece of thought leadership in our new loan officer playbook at Mortgage Coach is win by noon? Like building that habit where you come in with your deck stacked, get your prospecting done.
Yeah.
And win by noon. Do you have any win by noon checklist or mantras? What's winning by noon for a new loan officer under your leadership?
Yeah, that's a great question. I could probably do a better job of emphasizing the win by noon element of it, but I am very I put a lot of emphasis on you have to have a start time and an end time every day. And when you hit the ground, when you walk into the door and you sit down, you start going, you got to have a plan built. There cannot be wasted time. You need to know exactly who you're calling. You need to stick to the blueprint. And that's something that we train them on and coach them on after their kind of first month in training. So I think it's a great idea. The times that I've been most successful at staying on top of all the prospecting work, it's always been in the AM for sure. So good reminder to continue to drive that message home.
All right. Well, I want to flip to a mortgage coach strategy, and then let's close out with any books. You know, in our playbook, I've got, I think, my 10 favorite books, because I've had a lot of new loan officers. Hey, what book should I read? I'm like, hey, here's some books that you should read. So we'll close. So be thinking about that. That's going to be the closing question: resources and books. But let's talk about a TCA strategy that you're either hot in this market, like, hey, Dave, I think this is hot, and I want to pretend that you're talking to everyone that you lead and manage. What TCA, what total cost analysis strategy do you want to talk about, or what micro lesson do you want to deliver?
Yeah, so I think, can I share my screen with you real quick here with that?
Of course.
All right, let me pull this up. All right, cool. Can you see that here? We good?
I can, we're good.
All right, excellent. So this is just I copied this from a little while back. You know, for a really long time, I've put a lot of emphasis on really digging into the savings figure here with clients. I think people tend to gravitate toward, well, if I'm paying points, I just do a quick, division problem on the monthly payment versus the points, and that's my break even. And I like to dig into the graph over here, the bar chart, and really get into, I want them to understand what it means, that where their costs are coming from, and help them understand the savings number. Historically, my default setting has been to look at 84 months out. It's just a good kind of time frame for a lot of people. But what's happened recently, obviously, with rates doing what they've been doing, is to shift to more of a shorter term perspective on the mortgage itself. And I tell people I threw out my crystal ball in like 2009, but I think there's probably going to be an opportunity to refinance in the not too distant future. And so instead of going with an 84-month forecast, in many cases right now, we're shifting to more like a 2.5-year forecast. And so if I update these numbers with a 30-month view, these savings figures change pretty radically, right? And so we're trying to get closer to a break even. And what we're finding is that, people are getting the sticker shock, right? It took them 4 months to get a house under contract because it's super competitive out there. And then they get a house under contract and the rates are significantly higher. And so they want to see what it would cost them to get that nice, low, sexy interest rate, of 5.25%, right? And so we want to show them what they want to see, but we also want to help them understand that, you're not committed for 30 years to this mortgage. There's very likely going to be an opportunity to refinance, to change your financing terms at some point in the not too distant future. And so we've been having some good luck with this. It kind of changes the conversation. And I tell my guys, buying a home for most people can be something that it leads to a lot of anxiety. It's exciting, but it's stressful. They don't understand it. And so if we can simplify that process, it takes a lot of the negative emotion that can be there out and motivates them to move forward on a home. And that makes us a great lending partner for them. And it makes us a great lending partner for our referral partners when we can take out the negative emotion, get people motivated to get out there and do stuff. So. Dave, you with me? Dave, you there?
That issue. So thank you for that lesson. And guys, that's a great lesson for new loan officers. That's a great lesson for very experienced loan officers. This is an actual TCA strategy I had recently. It was an interview with Jeremy Forcier, and he's talking about how, first of all, he's always showing interest rate options. So the consumer is seeing him as, 0 points to 2 points. And then he said, on pre-approvals, he's always showing a future cast. And hey, what do you think rates might be in the future? A term we're hearing a lot in the mortgage industry is, marry your home, date your mortgage. I don't know how many times I've seen that in my social media feed lately. Whatever term you want to use, this concept of just helping the consumer make an informed decision and realize that rates probably will be lower again someday, and this could help them make better decisions. What about, are you seeing many seller buy downs in your market? I know this was a house where the seller was pretty firm at 700,000. The buyer wanted it for 630, and was telling the buyer's agent, don't even bother writing an offer. Like, that's dead on arrival. We're not even going to counter you. And Jeremy was able to get in there and say, hey, what if, seller, you did a 3-point seller buy down, 2 points towards rate, 1 point towards cash to close. And he was able to get the buyer to go, you know what? I want to have a $451 lower payment than the current asking price, but I could live with $100 less or more in monthly payment. And then the buyer was like, you know what? I want to sell it for 700, but 3-point seller buy down, I can live with that. And creative strategy, visually showing that mortgage coach, put a deal together. Are you seeing strategies like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that has absolutely been the case. And I think that we've seen it happen a couple times when, you had a buyer and a seller enter into contract, and then somewhere in the option period, the deal fell apart. And then, it came back together again a few weeks later. And of course, the interest rate had jumped significantly. And so the buyer's like, oh, crud, I got the house I wanted, but that rate just really skyrocketed. And that has led to those kinds of conversations where we're working on negotiating for seller credits and making that deal stay on the rails, so to speak. So that's definitely been something that we've seen and that we've utilized. And I think sellers are more inclined than they were maybe a few months ago to try to figure out how to make things work with a buyer. So yeah, we've definitely benefited from that approach.
Cool. Well, I am going to update the new playbook, guys. I just want to give a quick, just show a few slides. And by the way, I am going to be sharing a seller buy down video by Nicole Ruth, one of America's top loan officers. I'm going to be sharing that in our group today. And she used Mortgage Coach, and then she used our video, and she created it was probably about a 10-minute video. It was pretty long, but it was awesome. And it was really for realtors. And so that will be in the group later today. But I want to add this, and if you have some edits, let me know, because I want to update the playbook with your perspective. But when you look at the best practices to delivering a presentation, and we need to train loan officers that you need to be clear on the client's needs and their challenges. And in a market like this, everybody's got challenges. You got to run towards those challenges.
Yep.
As a loan officer, you need to uniquely solve those, and you need to bring unique clarity. And again, you can't bring unique clarity without a total cost analysis. So delivering that TCA with every client, every lead, every time. Any thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, everybody gets a TCA. Absolutely. And we are very diligent in really gathering, a good sense for what the client's goals and needs are, from a cash out of pocket, monthly payment, anticipated length of time to own the home or have the mortgage. Those are things that we ask every single client. And it's really so that we know how to structure the TCA in a way that's going to be meaningful and effective in showing and educating the client what their options could look like. Yes.
So let me run this one by you too. So that was what I just showed. That was, like, call it the Mortgage Coach best practices. So those are things that are very relevant to Mortgage Coach. I'm going to show another list of best practices, and I want you to see if anything's missing here. Okay. Or if there's anything really shine a light on, like, Dave, I think this is the most important. So guys, these are all ranked, and it's based off of lots of top producers. And they're ranked by easiest to implement, like cheap, curiosity. It's free. And it is as simple as coming into a conversation with a heart of curiosity. And then it goes down to the hardest, which is mastery, which is never done. So easiest to hardest, heart of service, be a servant leader. The more you care about someone, the better. Storytelling, making sure that you're not talking about your tech, you're talking about stories that your technology is powering, and that a combination of you and your technology is powering. Next steps and tie downs. I think I see so many loan officers where they give a great presentation, but they're not like tying down the next step. Like, hey, let's schedule that next call now. Like tying that down. I am seeing a lot of loan officers in interviews that will have 5 to 20 slides that are like market insights, or it's to like show their value prop. So they're using a combination of a TCA and either Google slide, PowerPoint. Is your team doing that? Is that something you're teaching and training when it comes to presentations?
Presentations, we use Microsoft Teams, and through Microsoft Teams, we're doing tons of screen sharing. We've created some flow charts of the home buying process. And I think especially for first-time home buyers, taking the time to really like show them visually and talk through all the major steps in the home buying process, and making sure they kind of understand like, hey, this one here, this is a potential bottleneck, and here's what we're going to do to get ahead of it, and what we're going to do through it, and how we're going to communicate with you when we get to this point. That's hugely beneficial. We are also using the rate trends view that's in Mortgage Coach, just to help people see what's going on, and understand that that their situation is not unique to them, and that's been beneficial for us. We use a lot with BombBomb as well to kind of do follow-up videos where we're doing screenshots, videos explaining things for perhaps a spouse who can't be on the meeting, or if they need more clarity on something. So we're trying to use some of those tools to enhance the presentation experience and the follow-up experience as well.
Well, I love hearing that. And actually, you're the first person in these interviews that has called out some of the rate data that we have, guys. We've got a Rate Watch Lite, and we have Optimal Blue data within Mortgage Coach. So make sure you are checking that out. It sounds like that is part of your playbook. In fact, I'm going to just show it really quick on my screen. Hang on, everyone. So you can see Rate Watch Lite is over here. And then we have the Optimal Blue data, right here, where it's these indices. And I have seen more and more loan officers that they're doing that. And then me personally, I use a lot of slides in Google Slides. So I don't care what you do. I would just say, when I look at the best of the best and how they're presenting, number 5 is they've got some visuals that they're using. Of course, Mortgage Coach, they're using it on every client. A little harder than just Mortgage Coaches. Do at least 20 reps. Once you've done 20, it'll be fast and easy. Number 8, selling the problems you solve, not your loan programs and your rates. That it's easier said than done. And I still find a lot of loan officers that end up being selling programs, selling rates, and they're not selling the problems they solve. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, being a sales professional in any industry, that's a critical component to being effective, is helping, really getting super clear on what problems you're solving. It's critical. I think you're absolutely right that it's a skill we need to get better at. And it's easy sometimes, especially last couple of years when it's been so busy, you're just kind of trying to keep up. You get a little sloppy with some of these things. And so right now I kind of enjoy it because it's helping me get sharper on some of the things that I used to pay more attention to. That's definitely one of them. Focus on not just here's this, and this, but features and benefits, and really, really drive home why behind you pick one option over another. Absolutely.
Love that. Advice beats price. The advisor, finding the heart of whether it's a realtor, a consumer. Guys, it's pretty low. It's high on the list of hard to do. It is not easy to get and connect with someone at a heart level. But if you want to kill it with presentations and you want to optimize conversion, reduce price exceptions, you got to get to the mind and the heart. High trust interview is a great way to do that. And then the 2 last ones, which are the hardest: consistency. For any new loan officers listening to this, you'll find that the best of the best, they've gotten there because they're consistent. They've got great best practice ways that they do things, and it's just boring. They just do the same thing over and over and over. The more successful they are, the more process they're driven, the more consistent they are, and that is how they get to be a level of master. And I've interviewed some of America's most successful loan officers in the history of this industry, and they will tell you that they have not arrived. Like it is always moving. So let's wrap this up with books. If there were a couple books that you're like, hey, I recommend to new LOs or seasoned LOs, just are there any books that come high on your list of recommending?
Yeah, so one that's really resonated with me, I know a lot of other people over the last couple of years, has been Essentialism. I've probably gone through that book 4 times in the last couple of years. It's just really easy to get distracted, and it's really easy for me to get distracted. I love nerding out on spreadsheets and stuff like that. And sometimes it's like, no, man, this is not where it's at. Focus on the most important things. So Essentialism is one that's definitely been impacting me. And I would say another one that we've been digging back into that I read several years ago is The Obstacle is the Way. And I think that's a great one right now, just because there's definitely some obstacles, and there's not like some slick way around it, man. We just got to get through it, and this is how we grow. This is how we get better. So those are a couple of books right now that I would say are on my mind a lot. Good reads.
Well, I'm definitely going to add Obstacle is the Way to, what I call must reads. These are my must reads for any new loan officers, and Obstacle is the Way is going to be added to this immediately. I always recommend the 4 agreements. In terms of sales tactics, sales strategy, I think the Challenger sale is a must read. Todd Duncan's High Trust Selling. I'm not going to go through all these guys, but check it out. So just so you know how into that's Marcus Aurelius. Yes. And I'm a big I read the Daily Stoic almost every day. And I've read all of Ryan Holiday's books, and Obstacles Away is absolutely, to me, the cornerstone, when I'm talking to new people. And if you're listening right now, guys, James said it, I'm saying it. The biggest difference between failure and success is just running towards that obstacle and overcoming it. And you're never, that journey is never going to be done, and of course we are in a time where there's more obstacles than ever, but there's more opportunity than ever. So, James, any closing thoughts as we wrap up this conversation?
No, I think, the biggest thing right now, and this is what I'm talking about to people, is, right now, a lot of folks it's easy to get kind of panicky right now. And having gone through a few ups and downs in this business at this point, I've come to realize that this right now, what we're going through is opportunity. And I'm really just trying to drive home that message to people right now. This is when we get better. This is when we get more efficient. This is how this is when we learn to use technology better. This is when we learn to just be a better partner for the folks we work with, both clients and, referral partners. And so let's stay focused on that, and we're going to get through it and actually be in a much stronger position when we come out the other side of it. So
I'm going to close out, guys, with the whole no borrower left behind mantra and mission at Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang. And the only thing more powerful than technology is leadership. And this is a huge opportunity, guys. And, with that said, though, you do need technology. You got to have Mortgage Coach if you want to make advice your value proposition. And I think the biggest cost in most mortgage companies and most loan officers P&L, it is the loans they're losing. And I'm just going to show a couple slides because I'm so passionate about this. It's why Mortgage Coach has merged with Sales Boomerang, is that this is what most lenders and realtors database looks like, guys. And I'm telling you right now, that is not what Rocket and Zillow's database looks like. Like, they know who has what loan to value. They know who's cash out refi. They know who's likely to be in their database. Boomerang, we're not only supporting large companies, we have a pilot program for individual LOs. And so this is what your database could look like. You could be getting alerts with a TCA saying, hey, here's a client that is either eligible for cash out, or they could be a move up or move down. You know, here's a client that just ran a credit inquiry. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago where client went to big bank and the loan officer got a credit inquiry alert, called the family, you know, talked to them about managing their mortgage, and ended up putting them in a much better situation, like where they were going to build more wealth with real estate by picking the right mortgage strategy. So guys, it's time to get after it. James, really appreciate you, brother. You're a great leader in the community. You haven't quite hit 5,000 total cost analysis yet, but you're close. So let's do another interview when you hit 5,000.
Dave, it's really great to see you, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Give this a like, everybody. Share this with your mortgage friends and your mortgage leaders. Hopefully you're getting value from the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel and Facebook group. Take care, y'all.
See you guys.